Shalom, people. This is Brother Lyles coming at you with another video, and I'm doing this video on Father's Day. And I don't know the origins of Father's Day. You know, you have to kind of research everything that you've taken for granted in the past. You know, so I'll say that since I haven't researched it on the surface, I would say that if I do find out that it is has a cultic background, I'll let you know. But right now, on the surface of it, I'll just say to all those out there that would listen to this video that are fathers, happy Father's Day. And I hope that you have a good day with your children, your offspring, by being an example to them, because that's the most important thing that a father has to do, is to be an example to his children, his offspring, because there are fathers out there that can buy their children whatever they want, can send them to the best schools and everything, but the kind of lives that they live around their children is a poor example. You have to do more than just provide for your children the best in life. You know, that's why a lot of people that go to prison for selling drugs or, you know, committing crimes or whatever, they'll use the excuse, well, I had to take care of my children. So you leave a legacy to them of crime and punishment, imprisonment. Not to mention, the Bible says that Yahuwah would visit the sins of the fathers upon the children of the third and fourth generation. But I like the next part. He said, of those that reject me. So the thing about that is, you might have started out as a bad father, right? And later on, when you got your life on track and you leave a good example for your children, so that when that third and fourth generation comes along and the same sins that you might have committed before you got your life on track, when they are presented with those same temptations or sins, they'll remember the example that you left for their father, which and you would have been their grandfather, their great-grandfather. They'll remember the example that you left for your sons or daughters, and that they would have kept on the right path and passed that on down to you. So this is the situation that we, as black people, as Hebrews and the diaspora in the 4 points of the earth, this is what we are contending with, or at least here in America. You know, the fact that we have officially been here for 400 years. So we're on we past the third generation, we're into the fourth generation. We came here as slaves. We came here in disobedience. And as we know, Yah has greatly laid many stripes on us since we've been here, because the Bible said that he would use the whips of men to whip his people into shape. And although I can't say all black fathers or Hebrew fathers in this nation are the best example of what we need in order to, see the curses lifted off of us as a whole. I think it's a lot more positive examples of black fathers out there that when the sins that was upon our forefathers that they were engaged in when they came over here, that as we are being revisited with these things, because we see a uptick in racial tension and persecution against us as black people, that we as the third and then the fourth generation, which a generation is 100 years, that we will weather the temptations that come our way. We will see a decline in the prison population. We will see a decline in our men and women avoiding getting married, and we'll see a decline in our people committing crimes against each other and other people. We'll see a decrease in engaging in some of the wicked pleasures that Babylon has to offer. We'll see a decline in these things when Yah allows these things to be visited upon us. And I think if you are a person that is into statistics, some of the shows that I have been watching in the last few months have showed statistically through FBI crime reports that crime overall amongst us as black people or Hebrew people in this nation is on the decline. It is on the decline. Now, what happens is because of the social media platforms, we have television, cable, all that, because they can take maybe one crime or a few crimes and broadcast them across so many channels. It sometimes can make it seem that the crime is just exploding amongst us as people of color, as black people, as Hebrew people. But if you look at the hard numbers, you'll be man, this is incredible. You'll be like, I wouldn't have never thought that. I mean, you can even see it with the rate of our men being incarcerated for drug possessions and things like that. Now, there's still a lot of our young people, especially men, that are behind bars for drug crimes, but a lot of those drug crimes were simple possession crimes that, because of the mandatory minimum, they were required to complete a certain amount of years before they got. So this is one of the things that we need to pray, is that Yahuwah will allow legislation to be passed that will allow our fathers that are incarcerated to be able to come out from prison and stay on the right path and be able to be there for their children, to raise them. We'll pray that Yahuwah would take the taste for these drugs and any other illicit substances that our people have engaged with, and take them away, and instead put a a hunger and thirst for us to develop our family unit again, meaning a one man, one woman that are married with children, not shacking up. We need to get rid of a lot of the vocabulary that's coming out of our mouth. And as we have, if you've been following some certain YouTube channels, they've been running some pretty good lessons on the English language being a cursed language, and how we have to watch some of the words that, now we can't totally eliminate English, because to a lot of us that's the only language that we really understand, but we can try to avoid some of the way that we is, some of the words that we say, and get a more positive vocabulary coming out of our mouth. Get rid of the baby mama phrase, my wifey, and all these other things, because these things give power to the lifestyle that the television and social media has put before us. We gotta take the power away from these lifestyles of sin by not speaking them. The Bible talks about laying a hand over your mouth sometime before you will speak something that was sinful, or even it talks about even naming some of the Elohims or other gods of other nations. Sometimes, when we describing things in our lessons or whatever, sometimes it might not be necessary for you to mention the name of, you might be talking about different gods that people, or Elohim that people are worshiping. It might not be needful for you to mention the name of those gods over and over. You might just say, hey, that particular deity or something like that, and not give power to it by speaking it with our mouth, because the Bible said life and death are in our tongue, and we shall eat the fruit of it. And so we want to speak positivity to fatherhood. We want to speak positivity in our music, in our poetry, whatever we say toward not just fatherhood but motherhood also, but especially to fatherhood, because truly there has been a war to keep black men that give birth to their children, to keep them from being engaged in happy, healthy relationships, because we all do the best that we can, but if we know Yah and we do the best that He can, He will direct us to do the right thing, even if we don't have knowledge of it. Because I was very afraid when I seen my wife give birth to my first son. I was afraid because I knew that I didn't really know anything about being a father, except one thing about being able to provide for my children. That's one of the best lessons that my father taught me. But anything else, he pretty did much, he didn't do that. He didn't have that himself growing up, so he couldn't pass that on to me. And that I was always kind of afraid, because I didn't want to become like my father in the sense of the type of way that he treated me and my siblings and my mother. I was, even before I met my wife, I had told myself that I was going to be a bachelor all my life, that I wasn't going to get married, that I wasn't going to have any children, because I just felt that I didn't want to replicate what I had seen growing up. And not even really knowing the Bible that much, I felt that if I was my father's son, that I would, duplicate what he had did. But praise be to the Most High Yah, he has helped me over some many hurdles to get to where I would hope that if I died and my children were asked to come forth and speak some words about my life, that they would have, some positive things to say that I'm imparted in their life. They might have not necessarily liked the way that I said it to them, because that's just the way children are once they get to a certain age, when Yah allows them to try to develop their own independent thought. That's one of the things that I really try to implement, is to give them space to grab hold to different things at their own pace. Now, don't get me wrong, when I was into the quote unquote church thing before I came out of that Constantine way of living, we did go to serve, but we was not in service 5 days out of the week or anything like that. And even with that, I always told my children that when they got to a certain age of what I consider to be accountability, that they would have to make up for this decision for themselves on whether they believe in Yeshua, or as I called him back then, Jesus Christ. If they believed in Jesus Christ for themselves, because I never wanted my children to fake knowing God or Yahuwah just because their father was a minister. And so that's one of the things that I am very adamant about, because growing up I would see so many fathers in the quote-unquote Christian church that would label their children as being saved and all this kind of stuff, and would get them baptized, and then when they got to a certain age, they just would go buck wild, and a lot of times people would say, well, if they got a little something, they'll come back. But they'll come back to what? Hypocrisy. That's hypocrisy. So I would say that I would hope that my children, that my faith in Yah and his son Yeshua, that it would have been enough that my children, if I should not see them come to faith and working out their own soul salvation with fear and trembling, that they would say that my father left an example of faith, that when the Holy Ruach or the Holy Spirit does prick my heart, that understanding of what I seen working in my father, not so much the messages and the sermons that he preached, but it's the kind of life that he tried to lead through the power of the Holy Ruach, because it's not been that I've always been on that path, but that Yah was gracious enough to allow me to come back onto the right path after being in that fake Christian stuff that me and my wife were part of, this Constantine Christian thing that has so many people that will come to the church on Sunday, and they'll say Happy Father's Day, and they'll do all this big pageantry and probably say, well, the pastor is the father of this house, and just pat themselves on the back, and then go back home after the service, and the father go out and just doing all kinds of corrupt things and you know, the children will grow up, you know, kind of like looking at fatherhood like, you know, that's what it's all about. And I don't want to be a father. Now, I think that could be a reason why a lot of especially Western nations, where you're seeing a decline in the amount of children that are being born, being fathered, because some men that just don't want to deal with it. They said, what kind of life that I seen my father engage in, why should I even bother to go through all of that? You know, just be single and have fun and not, you know, be burdened down with a bunch of children that you don't want and you don't spend no time with, you know. And so I don't want that to be my legacy. I want my children to know that they were brought into this world. I'm happy that they were brought into this world, that I took care of them to the best of my ability, and that you know, I evolved in the things that I felt that I needed to improve in as a father. And I still have a lot of things to improve on, but that I'm trying to get to that point, and hopefully when they become fathers, that they would feel that Dad knows enough that they could come to me and ask some advice on, you know, maybe, Dad, you know, when you raised me, you know, you did such and such, you know, why did you do that? And I need to understand that as I raise my children. So that's all I had. You know, when you do get someone to say Happy Father's Day to you, like I said, I don't know if it had pagan origins, but until I find out, if someone says Happy Father's Day to you today, just say thank you, because especially if they know you and they saying it out of a sincere heart, because it's a good thing to be the model for what the Heavenly Father is, even if you're not doing it all the way, but that you're taking on the responsibility to want to be that. And I commend all those that's engaged in it in the right way. So be blessed.